We continue now at the top of Daf Samech Vav Amid Beis Mesechet Sanhedrin. This is Sanhedrin Daf 66b. On the previous summit, the Gemara asked, according to the one who understands the pasuk of Elokim lo sakalel as referring to Kodesh, as referring to a warning not to curse the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so where would we learn out the idea of Elohim lo sakalel, not to curse a judge? And the Gemara says that would be learned out because it could have said lo sakel, my lo sakalel. Why does it have to say lo sakalel, or why does it say lo sakalel with two lamids? Shmami no authority, so we can learn out both. And Rashi explains lo sakalo shtei klolos b'mashma. It's mashma, it implies two curses. Elokim nami beis lashonos yeshbo. The word Elokim also, as we said, can be understood as Elokim or Elohim. Helkach lo sakalo darshina natarvayu. Therefore lo sakalo we darshan on both meanings, both interpretations, and that explains also the tzad hashave that the Gemara was discussing on the previous amud. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Haba ala Nara HaMeorasa. If somebody has relations with a Nara HaMeorasa, a Nara is a girl who is between being a minor and being a full adult. Meorasa means she's betrothed to someone else. Eino chayev adjet tehe Nara. The person is not chayev until she is a Nara. Again, she's that age where she's between being a minor and adulthood. Besula, and also she has to be a Besula, a virgin. And Meorasa, she has to be betrothed, not married. V'hi bevei savi, and she also has to be in the house of her father. That's a situation of Nara HaMeorasa where we say that the punishment is skila. Boa le'ashnayim, let's say two people have relations with this Nara HaMeorasa. So the first one had relations with a Besula, she was a virgin at that time, but by the second one already she's no longer a Besula. So then we say Harishon b'skila, the first person is going to be punished with skila, with stoning, v'hasheni b'chenek, but the second one with chenek, with strangulation, because at that point in time already she is a Bu'ula, she's no longer a Besula, again, she's no longer a virgin. And Rashi explains, Eno chayev skila, again, the person is not chayev skila, ad shetei nara, until she's a nara, again, that's between being a full adult, but not a minor either, she's in between. Aval ketana, but Rashi says, let's say she is a minor. Shakitsha avia, where it's possible that she has a kiddushin, because her father can give her away to kiddushin. Habale bekatanusa eno beskila. So there, if somebody has relations with her while she's a minor, the punishment will not be skila. Uplukza de tanohi, there's going to be a machlokas tanoim, we'll see. Ikol aman damer bechenek, some people say that in that case where she's a katana, she gets the punishment will be for him, will be strangulation. Some say that when she's a katana, so he is completely exempt. Again, besula velo beula, she has to be a besula, a virgin and not a beula. Maurasa velo nesua, she has to be betrothed, not married. Now, even if she entered into chuppah, to the canopy, but there was no relations, to karina be besula, where she is still a besula, but miula karina be maurasa, but she's no longer maurasa at that point in time, she's an asua, so the din of Nara HaMeorasa would not apply. V'hi bevei savia, she also has to be in her father's house. Lemu'ute mosra av l'shluchei habal. That would exclude a case where the father already gave her over to the agents of the husband, v'zinsa b'derech, and then she had adultery on the road. And Rashi continues, Boa le'ashnayim, let's say two people have relations with her, and Rashi says, V'adayin hi basula, even if she's technically still a basula, kagon shaboa le shalo kedarka, let's say the way they have relations with her is shalo kedarka, not in the normal fashion, meaning they have relations with her anally, but in that situation, it is still considered by the second person that she's not a basula, and he gets chenek. Harishon beskila, the first person is going to get skila, even though it was shalo kedarka, to mishkevei isha ksiv, because it says mishkevei in plural, comes to include shalo kedarka. V'hasheni b'chenek, and the second person gets chenek, strangulation, because the bu'ula, she is considered to be a bu'ula. She's no longer considered a basula, a virgin, even though that first act of relations was shalo kedarka. V'hastama Rebbe, and this mission is following Rebbe. Diamar shalo kedarka nafkale michlal basula lekamon. Rebbe's going to say later on that even by shalo kedarka, she's no longer considered a basula. And the Gemara says, Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, Nara velo bogeres. When it says Nara HaMeorasa, she has to be a Nara. She can't be a bogeres, which is a full adult. And Besula velo beula, she has to be a Besula, again a virgin and not a beula. And Meorasa, she has to be betrothed, velo nesua, and not married. And Bevei Savia, she has to be in her father's house. Prat l'shemasar ha'av l'shluchei habal. That excludes if the father gave her over to the agents of the husband. And the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yehuda, Rav Yehuda says that Rav says, Zu divrei Rebbe Meir. This is the opinion opinion of Rabbi Meir. Aval Chachamim Omer, but the Chachamim say, Nara HaMaorasa afilu Ketana b'mashma. When it says Nara HaMaorasa, that's just excluding if she's an adult. But if she's a Ketana, that would still be considered Nara HaMaorasa. Our Mishnah does not agree with that. Our Mishnah says it has to be specifically a Nara. It cannot be a Bogeres or a Ketana. The Gemara continues, Amarle Rav Acha mi Difti l'Ravina. Rav Acha from Difti said to Ravina, Mimaidamas nisan Rabbi Meir. How do you know that our Mishnah is Rabbi Meir? Vilamuute Ketana nami, and we're coming to exclude even a Ketana. It has to be only a Nara according to our Mishnah. Dilma Rabbanan, maybe our Mishnah actually is the Rabbanan. Vilamuute Bogeres, and when the Mishnah says Nara, that she has to be a Nara, it means not a Bogeres, but maybe a Ketana would be fine as well. How do you know what exactly our Mishnah means? Visulo, but we're not excluding anything else. Again, maybe our Mishnah is not excluding a Ketana. Amarle, so he said back to him, Hay eno chayev at shetehei nara besula me'orasa, eno chayev ella al nara besula me'orasa mibayle. If that were the case, the Mishnah should not have said that he's not liable until she's a Nara. That sounds like until she's a Nara, meaning a Ketana, there would be no liability. If by a Ketana there would be liability, it would have said eno chayev ella al nara besula. It would have said he's only chayev on a Nara Besula, and then we could say that there's liability by a Ketana as well. And the Gemara says Vesulo midi, there's nothing further to discuss from the language of the Mishnah, where it says Ad Shetehei Nara. It sounds like she has to be a Nara, and a Ketana would not qualify for the violation of Nara HaMaorasa, again where the punishment is stoning. And the Gemara continues, Boy Minei Rav Yaakov bar Ada me Rav. Rav Yaakov bar Ada asked Rav the following question. Bo'al haketana me'orasa. Let's say again there was relations with a girl that was a minor that was betrothed. Rabbi Meir. So according to Rabbi Meir, again, Rabbi Meir is the one we're saying that our Mishnah is like Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir is saying that does not count as Nara HaMaorasa because she's a Ketana. So this is what Rashi referenced before. Legamri memayet le. Are we completely excluding that case? And we're saying that in that situation the person is totally exempt. O miskila memayet le. Are we just saying that the person is not going to get skila because she's technically not a Nara, but it's still considered adultery? There would still be a punishment of chenek. The Gemara says, Amar le said back to him, Mistabra miskila memayet le. It makes sense to say that it's only from skila that there's an exclusion, but there still would be a punishment for him in terms of chenek. But the Gemara continues, Vaksib, but isn't it written in the pasuk Umesu gam shneim? It says that they both have to be put to death. Ad sheyu shneyen shavin, they both have to be equal, meaning when she's a minor, so she's certainly not going to be punished, so it shouldn't be, he should not be punished as well. The Gemara says Shasik Rav, the Gemara says Rav was silent to that, he didn't have a response. But Amar Shmuel, but Shmuel says, my time was Shasik Rav. Why was Rav silent? There is a response to that. V'nei mulei, he should have said to him, Umeis ha'ish asher shachav imo levado. There's another pasuk that says that only the man is put to death. So you see that there could be some scenarios where only the man is put to death. And Rashi explains, V'nei mulei v'meis ha'ish ashochiv imo isha levado. Why not bring the pasuk again where it says only the man is put to death? That's ba'rusaksiv. That's talking about again by a betrothed woman. V'im basadi yimtso isha sanara hamorasa v'hechazik. This is talking about a situation of ones where the man forced himself upon the woman. It says there only the man dies, not the woman because she was forced. So Lamali, now why does it need to say that extra phrase? If it's to exclude her from the death penalty, that's already written explicitly in the pasuk. It says it says you don't do anything to the girl. So it must be including this case. Let's say she's a minor, and let's say it was willingly, but when she's a minor, she doesn't get the death penalty. Now, even though in that case her exemption is not because it was rape, but rather it's because she's a minor, because again she can't be punished at all as a minor, but he is still going to be chayev. Again, that can be the source for his liability. And the Gemara continues, Ketanoi, let us say that this is a machlokas tanoim. Again, the issue, let's say I have a situation where it's a Ketana HaMaorasa, it's not a Nara HaMaorasa, the girl is a minor, so she's obviously not going to be punished. So is he punished in that situation? That's a machlokas tanoim. The Brisa says, Umesu gam shneim, it says that they both die. So we learn Ad sheyu shneien shavin, they both have to be equal, they both have to be getting that punishment. Divrei Rabbi Yoshia, that's the opinion of Rabbi Yoshia, and so therefore in a situation where she is a minor, she's not being punished, he is not going to be punished as well. Rabbi Yonasan says no. He alone is the one that's going to be put to death. Again, that pasuk, the context is talking in a situation where he rapes the woman, but we apply it over here as well, and we say that applies in a situation where the girl is a minor, even though she is not going to be punished, he will be punished. That's Rabbi Yonasan's opinion. And the Gemara says, V'idach, now the other opinion, Hahiv Amesu Gam Shneihem, that pasuk of Amesu Gam Shneihem, meaning to say, according to Rabbi Yonason, who says that we do punish him alone. So what about that pasuk that says both of them are put to death? My Dorish Bey, what does Rabbi Yonason do with that pasuk? Amar Rava says, Lemeute Maise Chidudim, that would exclude a situation of Maise Chidudim. And Rashi explains, L'me'ute ma'ase chidudin, that's to exclude a situation of chidudin, which literally means sharpening. Rashi says, Mechadidu mekasha evaru b'vesar mibachutz. This is talking about a situation where his aver is hard, but it's mibachutz, there's no penetration. Dehu nenev, he ain't a nenis. The situation is, he's getting pleasure, but she's not getting any pleasure. L'hachi ksiv shneim, sheyu shneim, shavin nenin. That's what it means, shneim, according to Rabbi Yonason, that they both have to be getting pleasure, and so therefore, in such a situation of ma'ase chidudin, that will be excluded. There's no punishment for that. And Rashi continues, Umiyu, nevertheless, shalo kedarka. What about a situation of shalo kedarka? Let's say there's relations that's not in the normal fashion. So afagav dehi einanis, there also you can say that she's not getting pleasure, and so therefore maybe that should be excluded as well. But we say that is not excluded. The reason why that's not excluded is mimishkavei isha israboy. That's included from mimishkavei isha in plural. L'chiyuva, that says that in that situation there is in fact liability. And the Gemara continues, V'idach, and the other Tana, meaning Rabbi Yoshia, where does he learn Ma'aseh Chidudim from? Ma'aseh Chidudim lav klumhi, you don't even need a source for Ma'aseh Chidudim, that's nothing, that's not even considered an act of adultery at all, and therefore obviously it's exempt. And the Gemara continues, V'idach, and the other opinion, meaning Rabbi Yoshia, Hai Levado, my Darish Bey, what does he do with the pasuk of Levado, which again Rabbi Yonason uses to say that in a situation of a minor, the man can still be punished. What does Rabbi Yoshia do with that pasuk? Kedetanya, it's like we learned in the following Braisa, Bo'ala Asora B'nei Adam, let's say there are 10 people that have relations with her. V'adayin hi basula, and still she is a basula, she's still a virgin. Kulam beskila, so then they all get skila, they're all going to get stoning. Rebbe Omer, Rebbe says, Harishon beskila, v'kulan b'chenek. The first person gets skila, but the rest of them, they get chenek. And Rashi explains, V'adayin hi basula, she's still a basula, shabo kulam shalo kedarka, meaning they all had relations with her in an abnormal fashion, v'kulan b'chenek, and they all get chenek, degabe skila levado ksiv, because by skila, it says the word levado. That's what Rabbi Yoshi is learning from the word levado. Only he gets skila, not the rest of it, not the rest of them. Ukra yeseruhu lemuute ki haigavna. That's the extra pasuk is coming to exclude this situation. The afagav de karina be besula, even though she's still called a besula technically, ein beskila ela echad mehem oso shashachav imo levado. The only one that gets skila is that first one, the hainu rishon, that first person, shebiyaso haisa yechidus, where his act of relations with her was unique. It was only him at that time. There was no one else. Again, that's what Rabbi Yoshia learns from this pasuk of Levado. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught, Uvas ish kohen kiseichel iznos. It says if you have the daughter of a kohen, so if she commits adultery, the halacha is that the punishment for her is sreifa, is death penalty by burning. Rebbe Omer techila, Rebbe says first. V'chein hu Omer, likewise it says, Umeisa ish asher shachav imo levado, that only the man is the one that is put to death, that gets the death penalty. And the question is, what exactly is Rebbe saying over here when he says techila, and then he says similarly we find by Umeisa. And so the Gemara asks, my Kamar, what exactly is Rebbe saying? And the Gemara says, Amar Rav Huna b'rei de Rav Yoshua. Rav Huna, the son of Rav Yoshua, says, Rebbe k'Rebbe Yishmael svirole. Rebbe over here holds like Rabbi Yishmael. D'Amar arusa yotza l'sreifa v'lo nesu. And what he's saying is that when she's betrothed in the situation of the daughter of a Kohen, she commits adultery as an arusa, that's when we say that this death penalty applies of sreifa. It would not apply by a married woman. V'hachi Kamar, and this is what Rebbe means to say. Im tchilas bia biznus. If her first bia was an act of adultery, meaning she's just an arusa, she never had relations with her husband yet, and then her first act of relations is znus, is this adultery, bisreifa, so then she gets the punishment of sreifa, but idach b'chenek. But let's say she's already married, she already had relations, so then we're going to say that the punishment for the adultery will be chenek, will be strangulation. The Gemara says, Mai v'chein, well, if that's the case, what is Rebbe saying when he says v'chein? Again, he points to this pasuk that's talking about a situation of nara hameorasa, and it's talking about a situation where only the man gets the death penalty. Why is he saying v'chein? The Gemara explains kiyasam, because it's just like over there. Ma'hasam b'tchilas bia kamishtoy kra, just like that pasuk. The context is again tchilas bia, as we're saying, the first act of relations. Hachanami b'tchilas bia kamishtoy kra. So too over here, we're talking about the first act of relations. And Rashi explains, Ki hasam, just like over there, Ma matzino benara ha'maorasa, what did we find by a nara ha'maorasa? Sheyatza mechenek l'skila, again, by a nara ha'maorasa, she doesn't get chenek, instead she gets skila. V'lo yatza ela b'bia rishona, but that's only true by the first act of relations. T'chsiv levado, because it's written levado, l'me'ute sheni, that excludes the second person. That's just like what we said above. Let's say there are 10 men, only the first one is going to get that punishment, only for that first one is there going to be the punishment of skila. Af bas kohen, so too by the daughter of a kohen. Lo nishtanis misasa ella b'bia rishon. It's only by that first bia that we say the death penalty is by burning. Hilkach benara besula v'hiarusa hakasa medaber. That's why we say the pasuk is only talking about a nara who's a besula, who's a virgin, and she's an arusa, she's just betrothed. And the Gemara continues with another explanation of what Rebbe is saying. Amar le Rav Bevi bar Abaye. Rav Bevi bar Abaye said to him, Mar lo hachi Amar, the master didn't give this explanation. Umanu, and who is the master of Yosef? That refers to Rav Yosef. Rather, Rav Yosef said, Rebbe Rebbe Meir svirle, that Rebbe over here is following Rebbe Meir. The Amar nisis le'echon min hapsulin. That says, let's say she married somebody who she's puzzled, she's not allowed to marry someone that's disqualified from her marrying that person. Then in such a situation, misasa bechenek, in such a situation of adultery, the death penalty will be chenek, will be strangulation. V'hachi kamar, and this is what Rebbe is saying, im tchilas achalta biznus bisreifa, if the beginning of when she profanes herself is the act of adultery, then there's a punishment of sreifa, then there's a punishment of death penalty by burning. But v'idach, but in other situations, like here, where she's profaning herself even with the initial marriage, it's not the adultery that's profaned her, she's already profaned herself before that, bechenek, so then we're going to say that she gets strangulation. Umay v'chein, and according to that, what does it mean when Rebbe says v'chein, when he points to that pasuk of levado? And Rashi explains, Rebbe Meir svirle damar bas kohen nisua lekasher b'sreifa. Rebbe Meir holds if the daughter of a kohen is married to somebody she's allowed to marry, and then there's adultery, then the punishment is sreifa. Aval nisis lechon min hapsulin, but let's say she marries somebody who's disqualified, that she's not allowed to marry her, sheneschala lo mishas nesuin, that she becomes profaned at the time of the marriage, shuv ein ela b'chenek, then the punishment is only going to be chenek. V'haytchila dekama Rebbe, and according to this, when Rebbe uses the word tchila, hachikamar means as follows: imzu tchilas chilul, if this is the beginning of her profaning herself, b'sreifa, so then the death penalty is burning. V'imla b'chenek, if not, it's strangulation. Umay v'chein, now according to this, what's v'chein? Hachalo kapet ela at tchilas chilul, because over here, what we're really saying is the Rebbe is saying it has to be the beginning of profaning herself. V'lo at tchilas bia, we're not talking about the first time of the first act of relations. V'hasam, but over there, aschalas bia nami kapet, over there, when we're talking again about a situation of nara ha'maorasa, we're talking about the fact that it's the first act of relations. So again, what does it mean v'chein? And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Samech Zayin Amud Aleph.